shall forever live in thankful contemplation of him who presides over us all. I love that. I don't know why they left that part out of the short form, because some of the short forms are longer, or some of the long forms are shorter than the short form, but I do really like that. I've broken up that into two different things. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, number one, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities, too. But when I read the law form, it's really telling me that the principle of anonymity has a spiritual significance because it reminds us to place principles before personalities. In our formative days of Alcoholics Anonymous, anonymity was not born of confidence. It was a child of our early fears, because people were so afraid that the AA name was going to be put out there, and they made this a very secret society. So you only got in if you knew somebody, basically, or somebody found you in a hospital and brought you in. But they were so afraid, like a lot of what we read about how these principles, traditions came about was out of fear, because our founders were so much belief that they needed to preserve this society for all of us, and they did a good job, because here we are all those years later, and we're still together as a society. And here it says it's not a society, it's really I forget where I read it, so skip that part because I can't think. Oh, a community. Yeah, they wanted us to be more of a community. So I did a lot of reading on this, and it all boils down to the fact that our anonymity was born of humility, so that we're not telling the whole world that we're in AA. I used to do it. And my mom even did it. We were at a little thing, and we were offered champagne, and my mom goes, "Oh, my daughter doesn't drink, she's in AA." My mom was so proud of me, so I thought that was cool. But another thing on the anonymity in my personal experience, I used Sunday morning beach meeting, and it was a pretty big meeting, and they had a great big sign up that said AA with an arrow pointing toward us. And some of the people that had been around for a while just really objected to that. So there was a lot of discussion about that, and they did end up taking it down, because the fear was that somebody from work or someone from the neighborhood or somebody's, you say you baby somebody's kids or something, and people walk by and see that you're in an AA meeting. So we did take the sign down. I didn't understand it at the time, but I certainly understand it now. And one more thing about principles before personalities. I'd like to remind myself that most of us are highly aware of the personalities of people around us. Instead of getting lost in petty likes and dislikes, it is important to remember why we come to meetings. We all need each other in order to recover. So I want to close with that. We all need each other. And if you don't, if there's something about somebody, I like this part. I will keep an open mind toward each person I encounter today. If I'm ready to learn, anyone can be my teacher. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Terry, for being our traditionalist for 10, 11, and 12. I really appreciate how you look at all the historical aspect of it. And next week we will be inviting a new traditionalist into to do their 3 week, and you never know when you might be asked to sit in on the traditions, because that's what we do. We get people involved. And that being said, it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of things said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. What follows is one of the things we often hear, along with what the Big Book often has to say. And here's one of those things that we hear people say in meetings. We need to give up planning. It doesn't work. So William is going to come in on page 86 in paragraphs 3 and 4 and tell us what the book has to say about it. Welcome, William.
Thank you. My name is William Alcoholic. On awaken, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plan for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially ask that it divorced it from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motive. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with an assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motive. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. If we ask God for inspiration and intuitive thoughts or decisions, we relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answer comes after we have tried this for a while. Thank you.
Thank you so much, William.
Thank you. As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book Study Guide, prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we are going to start our recap on page 75, which will be read tonight, and I am extremely sorry. Who was our reader for that tonight? Pinky, thank you. Followed by our study portion, read by
Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back where our study portion began with Lisa tonight. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is that we are going to read the material once through, and then dissect the information a second time, through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we have completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what we just read. And if you've had spiritual experience with this information, please share with us. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, all of the pickles in the room are going to get up and start doing the pickle dance to get your attention and let you know that your time is up.
However, Big Book study is not there. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting? Example, a sponsor. Please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group. And Aaron, you said you could do this tonight, so you.
And how we arrived at this point, our group meeting began in person in January of 2020, and it started in Jamie's house, the Picklemanium, and they had to shut down briefly for COVID, and then we reopened as a hybrid, and then switched 100% to Zoom, and it's a 94-week study. It's a 94-week study, starting on the cover page all the way through to page 164, using our question-answer format. We also study Dr. Bob's Nightmare and the Traditions. We end with the Appendix 2, the Spiritual Experience, and then we start over. And we repeat that cycle. We are in our 4th year and our 3rd season of our study. And that is how we came to this point.
Excellent job, Yiddy. Excellent job. Before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised. If you would like to be one of our answers readers, please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it on our website. And that note, Pinky, would you like to come in and do our recap of last week, please?
Thank you. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. I'm on page 75. Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything, for we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? If we can answer yes, if we can answer to our satisfaction, we can then look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things we have admitted are objectionable? Can He now take them all, every one? If we cling to something we will not let go, we ask God to help us be willing. When ready, we say something like this: My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7. Thank you for letting me be of service.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. And Lisa, welcome for our study portion. You're muted, Lisa.
I am Lisa, I'm an alcoholic. Now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. Probably there are still some misgivings. As we look over the list of business acquaintances and friends we have hurt, we may feel diffident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis. Let us be reassured. To some people we need not and probably should not emphasize the spiritual feature on our first approach. We might prejudice them. At the moment we are trying to put our lives in order, but this is not an end in itself. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. It is seldom wise to approach an individual who still smarts from our injustice to him and announce that we have gone religious. In the prize ring, this would be called leading with the chin. Why lay ourselves open to being branded fanatics or religious bores? We may kill a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message, but our man is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set the wrong. He is going to be more interested in a demonstration of goodwill than in our talk of spiritual discoveries. We don't use this as an excuse for shying away from the subject of God. When it will serve any good purpose, we are willing to announce our convictions with tact and common sense. The question of how to approach the man we hated will arise. It may be he has done us more harm than we have done him, and though we may have acquired a better attitude toward him, we are still not too keen about admitting our faults. Nevertheless, with a person we dislike, we take the bit in our teeth. It is harder to go to an enemy than to a friend, but we find it much more beneficial to us. We go to him in a helpful and forgiving spirit, confessing our former ill feeling and expressing our regret.
Thank you so much for your service tonight, Lisa. And folks, we are going right back to where Lisa began to read. For our study answers, please speak clearly into your mic so that we can hear you. Because if you talk like this, we just won't be able to understand you. Okay? The batting order tonight will be Kenny, Larry, Linda, Art, Rick, and William. So thank you all for stepping up. Kenny, first question comes to you. It is a two-part question. A, what do we need now? The when. And B, why do we need it? Everybody unmute as well.
We need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead.
Thank you. Larry, there you go. Okay, so Larry, next question coming to you.
And I'm coming in with a comment. Again, we are reminded that this is a program of action, not just going to meetings.
That's right. Yiddy will have some comments coming in as well. So don't be shocked, folks. Don't be shocked, really. Hold the applause till later. Larry, what steps will we look at now?
Let's look at steps 8 and 9.
Thank you. And Miss Linda, what do we have?
We have a list of all the persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends.
Thank you. And Art, where did it come from?
We made it when we took our inventory.
Thank you. And Rick, what do we do now?
We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal.
Thank you. And William, why do we go to see our family, friends, and neighbors? The how.
Now we go out and our fellows and repair the damage done in the past.
Thank you. Kenny, coming back to you, sir. What do we really try to do? The what?
We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated without our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves.
And coming in with a comment, the following is the 8th step prayer. Remember that we were promised we would be given some willingness as we did step 4.
Larry, coming to you, sir. What do we pray for?
If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes.
Thank you. Miss Linda, coming to you. What must we remember? The why.
Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol.
Thank you. And Art, what is probably true?
Probably there are still some misgivings.
Thank you. Rick, two-part question there, Mr. Fireman. A, as we review the list, how do we feel about some of them? And B, why might we feel that way?
As we look over the list of business acquaintances and friends we have hurt, we may feel different about going to some of them on a spiritual basis.
Thank you. William, can we be assured?
Let us be assured.
Thank you. And Kenny, should we try to impress everyone of our spiritual life?
To some people, we need not and probably should not emphasize the spiritual feature of our first approach.
Thank you. And Larry, if we get heavy on spirituality, how might that affect them?
We might prejudice them.
Thank you. Miss Linda, what are we really trying to do?
At the moment, we are trying to put our lives in order.
Thank you. Art, is that just what the program is all about?
But this is not an end in itself.
Thank you. Rick, what is the real purpose of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous?
Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us.
And coming in with a comment, can this be achieved by just not drinking and going to meetings?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, yeah.
William, coming to you. What wouldn't be a very smart thing to do?
It is certainly wise to approach an individual who still smart from our injustice to him and announce that we have gone religious.
Thank you. Kenny, to do so would be like doing what?
In the prize ring, this would be called leading with the chin.
Thank you. Larry, if we do, what may they think of us?
Why lay ourselves open to be branded fanatics or religious bores?
Thank you. Miss Linda, what is a far more important reason?
We may kill a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message.
Thank you. Art, what will the person be impressed by?
Our man is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set right the wrong.
And coming in with a comment, a condition which must exist before making amends is a sincere desire to set right the wrongs. The when.
And Rick, coming back to you, brother, what will the person be interested in?
He is going to be more interested in a demonstration of goodwill than in our talk of spiritual discoveries.
And coming in with another comment, again, the message is what we do, not what we said.
William, we don't use this as an excuse for shying away from what?
Don't use this as an excuse for shying away from the subject of God.
Thank you. And Kenny, if it can help, what are we willing to do?
When it will serve any good purpose, we are willing to announce our conviction. with tact and common sense.
Thank you. Larry, what question will arise?
The question of how to approach the man will be hated, will we hated, will arise.
Thank you. Miss Linda, what if he has hurt me more than I have hurt him?
It may be he has done us more harm than we have done him. And though we may have acquired a better attitude towards him, we are still not too keen about admitting our faults.
Art, nevertheless, we do what? Or what do we do?
With a person we dislike, we take the bit in our teeth.
Thank you. And Rick, even though it is difficult going to an enemy, what are the results?
It is harder to go to an enemy than to a friend, but we find it much more beneficial to us.
Thank you. And William, you get the final question of the night. It is a two-part question. A, in what frame of mind do we go to him, the when, and B, what do we confess, the how?
We go to him in a helpful and forgiving spirit, confessing our former ill feeling and expressing our regrets.
Comment. Could this be termed love? To want to help and forgive. And our final comment, step 9 is the step that lets us forgive those we have hated, feared, wished bad times towards, etc. Who on your 4-step list did you have ill feelings towards? If we want to be forgiven, we must forgive, and then we are free.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your participation tonight. And all the hands are down. If everyone will remute, and then somebody please raise their hand and come on in and share. Come on in, Linda. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm an alcoholic. I am very grateful for this step because I didn't know how, I didn't know when, why, the 3 W's of approaching anyone. I didn't know how to do this 8th step. I didn't know how to do this 9th step. I just didn't know. But reading here, and this is not the first time I read it from the big book, it gives me a really good understanding. And as far as with me making amends, once I learned how to forgive, that's when I became much better and it became much easier for me to do the 8th and the 9th step. Because I had to stop harboring a lot of ill feelings that I had for individuals. There's some individuals I can never make amends to because they passed away or I do not know where they are. Now, it was last year and I did this 8th and 9th step and I felt something inside of me that was empty and I felt very lonely. And what it was is I was missing my siblings, my sister and my brother. They're active, and so I had to stop talking to them. And my sister would drink and she was very mean. She would talk to you, then all of a sudden there would be a burst of anger and she'd cuss you out. I remember one time I was very early in recovery, and I didn't get a really good suggestion from this sponsor. She was like, yeah, you should make amends to your sister. And I shouldn't have made amends to her because she was in the depths and the height of her drinking. And she cussed me out and blamed me for everything that ever happened to her. And I didn't deserve it. And I never went to her and asked for forgiveness again. And, sometimes people are still smarting. And we need to, they said timing is everything. Timing is everything. Some people you can never make amends. Some people you have to wait. Some people, if you took money from them, they don't want to hear sorry. They want their money back. Plain and simple. Creditors, family members, that's the amends, the only amends you can make to them. And then some people, you better not make amends to them. You better not make amends to them. You cannot. There's no way. We can't, it's like they said, we can't lead with the chin. We can't. You have to use a really good discretion. I can be happy-go-lucky. I'm sober. I'm not doing the same things. I've done so much wrong to people, and I want to make my amends. I really feel bad about it. But there are some people that I dare not approach. I better not ever approach. And I remember one time. I remember when I was. This was when I was active. I was in a woman's shelter, and everyone had their own room, and they had a key. And something happened where I was supposed to mop the stairs or something because they had me as I was an assistant housekeeper there or something, and they were paying me. And I didn't. And this lady fell down the stairs. Boom, 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 boom. She fell down the stairs. She slipped and she banged down the stairs. And she was 9 months pregnant. And the child came out with bruises all on his face. And some kind of way, at the time I was active, some kind of way I got out of it. And I blamed someone else. So they got it. I didn't get it. But it was really me. But I was too busy drinking. I was more interested in drinking and taking care of my responsibilities. And her boyfriend was a drug dealer. So I dare not ever approach that woman, wherever she is, and make amends to her. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what happened to that baby. I don't know if that baby sustained injuries for life. So there's certain things that we can't, that we just can't make amends to. We can write a letter, we can say a prayer. People that have died, we can't make amends to them. But with my sister, I did make amends to her. And I asked my son, I said, how can I find her? He said, go on one of those people search and pay some money. He said, you know her date of birth. You know her first and her last and her middle name. You know the last places that she lived. He said, just try it from there. And I did, and I found her. So all the way in Endicott, New York. And it said, this person owns this property. I was like, she bought a house. So I called the number that I saw, and I paid a little bit of money for it. It was very easy to find her. And the person called me back, and they said, this person doesn't live here. I just wanted to tell you that. I said, okay. And I was so glad it was a different voice. It wasn't my sister's voice. And so my son, I said, well, how am I going to contact her? And he looked at me and said, it's the month of February. Isn't it? Didn't her birthday just pass? You can't send her a card or something. The way he was talking to me, it's like, this is not hard, mommy. This is not, this is not rocket science. So I did. And I said, but I'm not going to just send her a note. I sent her a card and had pictures of all her nieces and nephews and all of them. And then when they were little, and then as they got older, and she sent me a card back, and her number was in the card. And I called her, and we talked for so long, almost 3 hours. And she said, when are you coming to see me? And I did go see her. It was a long ride. But, I stayed my time and I left. She still drinks. She's still active. I had an escape route just in case it got too dangerous, But it is what it is. Sometimes we have to accept people for who they are and where they're at. And she did go to AA. She did get sober for about a little while, but then she went right back to drinking and drugging, And it was her boyfriend that bought the house. He's the one who came in the money, and then she put her name on it or something like that. It was a beautiful house. They had a lot of land around. It was really nice. And when I went up there, I didn't just go by myself. I went with one of my daughter's kids. And she just loved her. She just sat with her and talked to her. But one thing that I was so glad for this step, I was so glad for that workshop, and, just getting that feeling of loneliness. And then she gave me my brother's number, and I called him and talked to him, and he stayed on the phone with me forever. And how are you doing? Are you taking care of yourself? And, that's the older brother, And I'm glad that I have a connection with them. I text them, I call them. And that's as far as it goes. I have to leave them where they are. I can't get into their life. I couldn't go over her house and tell her, you can't drink, and that's her house. I can't do that. So she didn't put any drink out in front of me, and she didn't, hand me a drink. But she made her snide remarks about people that are alcoholics. And I was like, is she serious? Is she serious? She drank just as much as me, if anything more. She drank a man under a table. She could drink 5 men under a table. And she's calling me an alcoholic. And I was like, you know what? Don't respond. Don't say anything. Because she was kind of angry when I stopped drinking, because I was her drinking buddy, and I had left her out there when I got clean and sober in AA, the safety of AA. But I do remember one lady saying in a meeting, she's talking about making amends, and she said to her friend, she said, yeah, how's my sister? I haven't talked to her for so many years. And she said, oh, you didn't know? She said, what? She said, she died years ago. And that scared me. So therefore, I knew to make amends to my daughter, to my sister. And I just wanted to say that it was not easy. It was not easy because she had hurt me, and it's just a lot of things. And I had to understand this person is an alcoholic, they're sick and they're suffering. And when I went to see her, she was a very, very attractive woman. But when I saw her, she had dark circles under her eyes. Her eyes were yellow. She has thyroid situations. She can hardly walk because she has so much pain, and you can see the ravages of alcohol. It really just took her down, and I was really sad. I was really, really sad. But it's not as hard as you think as far as with making amends. And we make them the best way we can. We can't force them. And it's always best to follow, the guidelines in here, And if you're sincere, it'll work out. Even if it doesn't, it'll work out because you made the effort. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, Jim. Come on in.
Hi, everyone. How are you all tonight? Yes, I do have a very recent spiritual experience with this stuff. I've been going through a very difficult time in my life. And I was speaking with someone about a few things, and I happened to mention someone that I thought that I had been very cruel to at one time. And, the word got back, and this person, I felt I owed them an amends. They reached out to me. And what I was told that, you know what? Even though the things you did were kind of harsh, it saved their life. That's what she told me. It was just, this is someone I thought I had hurt really badly. A nice young lady, and it was amazing. We prayed together. God's been putting a lot of people in my life. It's an amazing thing how when you just say that you've made mistakes, how things can turn around so suddenly. It was just amazing. I thought I had a lot to say, but I really don't. I'm Jim. I'm an active alcoholic, and I still have these spiritual experiences. God is bringing a lot into my life right now, and He's actually changing me quite a bit. But God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Trish, I'm stopping my recording. There's too much background noise and chaos going on out there, as I'm sure you guys can probably hear. Rick, come on in, brother.
Hello, everyone. Rick Alcoholic. Always good to be here. I don't know if you all heard me while my mic was open. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and to the people about us. And I said to myself, why is that not highlighted, Rick? And it is now. I've been blessed. As I did no live today. I spent time on Zoom just talking with another alcoholic, a guy with a lot of time in a Zoom room that my sponsor and I have to hook up in. And went over a lot of stuff, and I was telling them, I noticed how I've gravitated to mostly big book meetings, and because this is the reason why I do that, so I can be of maximum service to the men I try to help at this living sober house. 3 men I'm taking through 3 times a week for quite some time now, 3 different men, and it's been going on for a while that I sit with them and read this, and they do their step and do their 4-step writing, and I learned from Rick Walsh, why do you separate from them when they are writing? And I said, man. And so I no longer separate. And the thing is for me, with the immense part for me, this is all about putting me down on paper. That 4-step workshop that's in this book from 64 to 71. I've been gravitating to those pages lately, because even though I was in a meeting today, and I said this, and just about every share, somebody's at odds with some member of their family. And usually, it's a mother and child, or grandparent and child and and when I'm in those meetings, I just listen. The reason why I started off, I'm blessed. It's my immediate family, my wife, my kids, my grandkids. We are not saints, but there is no misery going on in this family. And there was some going on between my sister and her daughter. My daughter, 35 years old, banging heads and all that, and I got involved with it, and because I was called, one after the other. Both of them called me, but separately, and then I got in a conversation with my sister, and it started to go in a direction I did not like, and I immediately let go. Because believe me, I don't want to have to make. I'm on a men's prevention program now. I don't want. Hey, I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. You shouldn't have. I backed off, and she called me last night, and we just talked. And the backing off is he is going to be more interested in demonstrating a goodwill than in our talk of spiritual discovery. In other words, behaving a different way. Even though I want to lash out too, I got a sister in Florida, must be Linda's sister too, because you could be talking with her, then bam, it's like she set off a bomb, and there goes the mouth. Sometimes she can call and be so doggone sweet. Yes, she's in the throes of freaking drinking, and the day she doesn't drink, the day she does drink, and that's, I'm not here to talk about that. So Rick likes to stay in the maintenance part. Yes, there's a 10-step inventory. Yes, there's an inventory at the end of the day. Yes, there is every morning, dear God, help me watch over my thoughts, which can turn to words and can turn to actions. And sometimes it's over the most trivial thing. So these pages here, and staying in them, looking them over, whether I'm sitting in my recliner, which I don't get to do much of really, but when I do, I'm glad we're here. I'm here. I'm very glad I'm with you guys tonight, because these are the pages that, for me today, do not need to be turned. These are the pages I need to stay in to maintain who I am, maintain what this program has given, and what God has given to me. Because sometimes we can, I can, and you know, it could be the thermostat. My wife puts it on one thing and I put it on another, and I went, that so trivial a reason is all that's needed. So I ask God to help me maintain what I have today. I'm not perfect at it. I'm grateful for the family I have today. I'm grateful in reading the family afterwards with another this morning. Again, my family was doing the white knuckling when Dad was in his early periods of sobriety, the first year, second year, because they were just holding on to see, because they seen Dad, husband, grandpa, not the grandchildren, I take that back, but my children and my wife. They've heard the promises many times, and today those knuckles aren't white anymore on their hands. They no longer keep one eye on him, and it's because of these pages. So I've rambled too long. I'm going to give it back to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Glad you are here, Brother William. Come on in, young man.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank everybody for being here, helping me stay sober today, and I get a chance to see myself how I was before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, what happened, and what it's like today. You know, and, definitely, I truly believe that when I was born with my sixth sense, with a sixth sense, you know. But through the process, what I call it, we got discolored by the pride, fear, jealousy, all that other stuff, you know. And every time they read how it works, I came here and got educated on the disease because I thought home was physical home, you know, and I never really harmed nobody physically, you know. But, I think God saved me from all of that, you know, but emotional, I think I did damage. And most of the time, the people the stuff I did to emotion, they didn't think nothing of it, you know. The closer people to me, my family, friends, and if there's anybody else, you know, if we had different of opinion or different, you know, just when I was separate ways, you know, I just went my separate way, you know, because I always was an independent person, you know, independent person, you know what I mean? And so it kept me out a whole lot of other stuff, but the emotion damage, I did it. And I did a lot of that by omission, not being there at the places that I should have been at the time I should have been, you know. But I truly believe through this process, by the time I got to the next step, that sixth step that came back, you know, and the old time we used to call it Lppbbsg. Going to do these things at Lppbbsg. And how it works is share your story in a journal, you know, then share that other stuff with somebody else. So it taught me how to make amends through the process. It taught me how to make amends, you know. It says when I was making amends to my kids, you know, I said to them, and they tell me they love me right today, you know what I mean? I tell them, you know, I wasn't the best father that I thought I could have been, you know, but if you need some help, I know a lot of places you can get help from, you know, and I'm sorry, you know, for anything I did, you know, that you think I did, I did wrong. You know? And through this process, I knew I did a lot of stuff wrong because I would take off and be gone. You know, self-will, what I wanted to do, you know. So, but as I moved through the progress and began to work the steps and got to the next step, well, that sixth step had came back to me, you know. But I made family, friends, the closest and God always provides. Always. As I look back over my life, God always stepped up at the right time and helped me get this thing. So I made, and I like what in the writing what Bill say, demonstration. You know, when I was a kid, they used to tell me your actions speak louder than your words. You know, so I understood that, but I didn't understand the emotion damage I was doing at the time when I was. I tell you two stories in my memes that I did. I made all my memes. You know, if anything come up later, I will, except for one of them. You know, that, and one of the memes I had bought a car in the 70s and stuff, and it became more important for me to drink than it was to make those car payments and stuff. And I remember one time I was coming up the turnpike, driving the truck, and I see the tow truck going southbound with my car. So I had to call them and make some kind of arrangement to get the car back. And once I got the car back, I hid it and could never find it again. So as time went on, and when I was anonymous, you know, they put a clamp on my account, and I couldn't take any money out of my account. So my checking account was $2,500. They were looking for $10,000, and I told the guy, I said, look, it is true in a fact, but I don't know how they receive that, so I don't know how long I'm going to live. No. I said, but if you take that money in that account and we can square that off and stuff, and he said, wait a minute, let me talk to my manager. He went and talked to his manager, and they took the $2,500 and they took the lien off my account. And that's the way I had to make that a million, because I didn't think I should have made that a million. I think that because of that card deal, I thought they did me wrong, you know. And I like what it said. Don't matter what you think the other person did to you. It's for you to clear yourself. And that's how I had to clear that. And the other millions that I made, what should have made, the one of me and I haven't made in my life is that I had this young lady living with me and stuff. And I would leave on a Friday and wouldn't come back until like Monday sometime. And I didn't realize what was going on until I came back on Alcoholics Anonymous. She was a church-going lady, highly spiritual family, come from a good religion background. And every time I come home, I see a Heineken bottle and the Bible open on the nightstand. And I didn't realize what was going on until I came back on Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, she packed her bags up and moved down to Atlanta, never to see me again. So now if I see her, I know I owe her. But and I like the part where it calls be max sincerity to God and others. You know, and what they have taught me is how to love unconditionally. It taught me if I can't help you, I'll leave you alone. And that's with family, anybody, you know. And whether you're in Alcoholics Anonymous or not, if I can do something for you, I do it without looking for anything back. Yeah. So I'm grateful for the life that He had given me, you know. And I try not to, and if I do begin that emotional stuff today, most of the time I catch myself in judging people, saying some about people and stuff. I ask God to forgive me. And it's about me keeping my side of the street clean, you know. You know, it's the disease to spread. You know. That person may not get drunk. It's a good chance if I keep living like that. That's why I was drinking before. You know, so definitely my list has been cleaned up. List has been cleaned up, and I'm grateful for this program. I have a wonderful life, a great life. Beyond my wildest dreams. You know. And it's not about the much thought as I thought it was before about the materialistic stuff that I was running behind before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's about the peace of mind that I find living in a world of chaos, suffering and self-centeredness. You know, that I can find a niche that I can get in and be at peace with myself. And you know what? When I do that, God always put those people in my life who just like me to keep me sane. You know, whether they're in Alcoholics Anonymous or just somebody at the gym or somebody on an airplane or somebody in another country, it always comes through. So I'm grateful for being removing all that stuff away from me, that emotional pride, fear, greed, and all that stuff. A day at a time, I worked on myself. Thank you.
Thank you, William. I appreciate you, brother. Pinky, come on in. Alyssa, are you there? Okay, Larry, we'll come to you and then we'll come back to Alyssa.
Yeah, you know, I remember there were probably a lot of people that I didn't want to make amends to, but the two people that I truly didn't want to make amends to was my ex-wife and well, I don't know if I owed the guy an amends, except for I hated him, so I resented him so much, and the guy that she had the affair with and married, I truly resented and didn't want to make any kind of amends to those two people ever. And when my sponsor and I talked about me making amends to my ex-wife, because I truly owed her some amends. Because first of all the years that I drank and drugged and cheated on her without her knowing. And truly, when I came home from a job, I couldn't wait to leave because I had to get away from the house so I could drink and drug and cheat. I was so restless when I was home, and I was so irritable, and she had no idea what was going on. I don't know. I was so mean. I was so hateful. But I was so careful of covering things up. And one day I call her on the phone. I'm away from home, been away from home for almost 2 months working. And she lets me know that she wants a divorce. She had met somebody else, and all of a sudden I go ballistic and said I'll kill him. And so I didn't want to make amends to her, and my sponsor finally said, well, if you tell her the stuff you were doing, all you're going to do at this point is hurt her more, and you're going to hurt the kids. Because my kids had no idea what I did. So he said, you owe some amends, but we're going to put it on the back burner right now, and we're going to let God open that door for you when the time comes. I just wiped my brow and I said, boy, I sure did miss the bullet on that one. And I truly did put it on the back burner about as far back as I possibly could, and thought that I would never have to make that amends. But God had different plans. About 3 years after being in Alcoholics Anonymous, I received a phone call from one of my kids saying that their mother was thinking about committing suicide, and I didn't know what was going on. All I didn't know is that she was the love of my life, and I had prayed for 3 years for God to somehow bring her back to me, and I would not accept God's answer, which was that relationship was over. I refused God's answer. I said, no, God, there's got to be a way for you to restore that relationship, and I just refused God's answer. And so when I received that phone call, I thought, well, maybe this is a way I can get in and get her back. And so I rushed where she was, and it was a place up on the mountain. She was by herself, and I found her, and we started talking, and I realized right then she was about to kill herself, because in her mind, the kids blamed her for breaking the home up. Her mother blamed her for leaving and breaking that home up. I had blamed her, and she blamed herself. And finally, it just all crumbled in on her, and she just wanted to die. And I realized at that moment that it was time to make that amends. There was the only way that I was going to keep her from taking her own life was to finally be honest with her and tell her that she did not break the vows of our marriage, but I did. Now, God, at that point, God had given me enough wisdom that I didn't go into all details of everything and every expedition that I did. I just told her that I had broken the vows long before she broke the vows, and I had hated myself for so long because I did that. And I am so sorry that I destroyed our marriage. It was not you that broke the vows, it was me. And when I said that, I could see the countenance of her face change. She was so glad to hear that information. It wasn't like, what I expected. I expected her to explode and started slapping me and hitting me or something, I just expected a whole different thing, but it was like, she actually said, thank you. Thank you for telling me. Because I thought for sure that I destroyed our marriage. And she said, I promise you that the kids will never know. Which shocked me to all heavens that she said that. To this day, she's never told our children that I broke our vows. And I realized just what kind of woman she really was. But at the same time, when I made the amends, it was like I finally accepted what God said. I finally accepted the truth that marriage was over, because I knew that I would never ever get her to be my wife again. She had too good of a life with this other man. She had etched the life out with them, and they were happy. And I have never, from that day on, I have never contemplated getting back with her. Today, we're the best of friends. I've even become friends with her husband. And it's a miracle, because up until then, I had thought what God said, but when I accepted that the marriage was over and I wasn't going to get her back as my wife, when I accepted the truth, there was a peace about acceptance. And it's something about how that by making that amends, it truly was more beneficial to me. Even though I didn't want to make the amends, when I did, I saw the load that it took off me. And I saw the forgiveness that I needed to give to both parties, both her and the man she married. And it really has been a miracle. God really did make a way for me to make that amends. I had to wait. My sponsor told me that I was going to have to wait until God opened the door for it to happen. But truly, He did. And it worked out for the best. And I guess that's all I have to share on that. I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Thank you, Larry. Pinky, come on in.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Aaron, for taking the meeting. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. Well, every time I read the book, something else pops out, or it hits me in a different way, or it's like, oh, I get that. Like, that makes more sense now. Because up to this point, if I'm not willing to do something, I ask until it comes. So the direction always has me going back to God. Always. Because when I first came in, and especially the first time I thought about making amends to people, I was not in a place. I was still too sore. And if God was removing character defects, it wasn't the time for me to be doing those. And I can see that now. I can see much clearer now that I'm past those situations, obviously. But it's fun when my brain can connect the dots. One, that tells me I'm alive. Two, it tells me I'm sober, because I'm aware of what's going on. And the biggest two blessings that I have today. Many people didn't wake up this morning, and a lot of people aren't going to bed sober. So I acknowledge those as huge blessings. But today, thinking about making a verbal amends to someone, like I like to go to bed with my side of the street clean. I know what it feels like to have that peace and serenity, and I I embrace that today. So if I do something, to hurt someone else, I'm quick to repair that if I'm aware of it. And so today it's more of the living amends with the changed behavior. And I mean, I don't think it's by any coincidence that I'm walking through something and then we're studying it. Like, that's just how God works. So, to take the situation to where I was 4 years ago, to now this person who there's not going to be a verbal apology that I see right now. My actions are what's going to convince them more than words. That's my only option here, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because the same person, they're not going to get that sick person. I'm well today. I'm not intentionally moving around harming other people, where before I was a bulldozer, and if you didn't have what I wanted, or you weren't willing to give me what I wanted, or, do things the way that I wanted, then watch out, because I'm just going to barrel through everybody. And that's not how I live today. It's what is God's will? What does God have in store for me today? Because when I live on His terms, life is absolutely amazing. And I mean, even in the muckiest of situations, I can get through, and I still feel good, and I still feel happy, joyous, and free. That's what this way of life has done for me. And now I can come from a place of, I have more, like, there was such a strong compassion and empathy that came over me yesterday when I walked into a room and saw this sick person. They were both, well, then there was three. So three very sick people. And it wasn't the same response that I would have given it left untreated before this way of life of, I don't even want to hypotheticate what I would have done as still being sick, but I know that I wouldn't have looked at these individuals as sick people and prayed for them. But that's what I got to do yesterday. And because of that, I was not disturbed. There was one moment when we walked into the main courtroom that my heart started to pick up, and I said, God, you got this. And it was gone, it fleeted, and I was aware and in the moment, and able to do the next right thing. But that's because God was there, and I turned it over. I'm probably not going to piece all of yesterday together, and I'm okay with that, because more gets revealed. And I don't know, I'm going to have to work with God and my sponsor, but I'll go to God first on just the excitement that's there to have this opportunity that's the next opportunity in this. They could always agree to what I've requested, because the court wasn't too happy that they were fighting this, and they made it very, very known that they were wasting people's time and money. And I was listening to that referee, and I'm usually the one sitting on that side getting the strict, I don't want to say lashings, but the roles were reversed yesterday. And yeah, I mean, more will be revealed, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be on the wrong the long, and I am emphasizing the long road of reconstruction. I'm excited to be on that road. It's just, and as I say it, I'll still follow up with my sponsor. But I just have to stay right sized. And it's okay to be excited, about these things, because I'm excited when my child grows and develops, and I get excited for them. So God's up there getting excited because his little girl down here, who may be 41 years old, that's just starting to get her life together. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because she's got her life together, and she puts the stuff into practice today that helps her stay that way. And so, I would just think that my dad's up there excited that, I'm down here not intentionally trying to hurt his other little children anymore. And he witnessed that yesterday from me. So, yeah, if I think of it that way, and I'm talking about God, my higher power, because my dad's still walking this earth. But, yeah, no, it's pretty cool. This way of life was something I've never dreamed. I'm in like the 96th dimension, so I'll just keep coming back and see what dimension God wants to take me to tomorrow. I love you all.
Thank you, Alyssa. We love you too. Terry, you had your hand up. Would you like to go? Okay, Trish, come on in.
Hey everybody, I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic. And, I've got to look at that first line that we read. Now we need action, and without it we find that faith without works is dead. I've got action required of me for this step. Walking up and making an amends to someone is not just walking up, saying I'm sorry, explaining what I did, and telling them I'm never going to do it again. And I've got to show them, I've got to be willing to show them by my actions that I'm a different person. I'm not the same person who did whatever that harm it was to them. And sometimes I need to include them in that process. I have to ask them, what can I do to make this right? I can't just assume that what I want to do is going to be an amends that's acceptable to them. And, there may be somebody who says, okay, you got to do this, this, and this, which is totally out of line, and I would say that. I have had people who I wasn't willing to make amends to. And there was one specific time that one of these people crossed my path, and I said I was willing, but as soon as I saw her, I'm walking to the other side of the street because I didn't want to face her. And I haven't seen her since. So, missed opportunity, yes, but I'm also convinced that when the time is right, God will give me that opportunity again. And, maybe it's just knowing in my heart that I'm willing to make that amends. I don't know where she is. I don't know what even what state she's in. But that doesn't mean we won't just randomly cross paths one day when I go visit at home. But I have to be willing to go out to my fellows and repair the damage that I did in the past, as the book says. And if I don't have the willingness, I'm going to ask God. As Alyssa said, it always goes back to asking God for the help, for the direction, in this case for the willingness. And as long as I have that willingness to make those amends, and I've made amends that I wasn't willing to make. And I've made amends that were long, long, long overdue. But as they were made, my perspective of the whole situation, my perspective of the relationship totally changed. And years of hurt and shame that I was feeling all disappeared. Because I realized that the way I was seeing the other people was totally wrong. If I had talked to them earlier, I could have had better relationship with them much longer than I have. but I didn't have that willingness. But as long as I, just like with the fourth step when I'm doing my writing, as long as I'm asking God into the process and asking or inviting God into the process and asking God for the direction and for the willingness, the time for the amends will be made apparent to me. And the words for the amends will be there when they come up. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Come on in.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa. I'm an alcoholic. I'll be quick. I haven't done this part yet, but there was a person in my life when I was younger, 20 years old or so, and I was in a relationship, and this person harmed me. And for years, like Trish was saying, I totally agree. For years, the way I looked at it, and even hearing doing this part of the program through different times of my life, I'm like, I'll never make amends to that SOB. And, after doing writing and the self-appraisal and looking at things differently and talking, to my sponsors and, I have that willingness today. I'm looking at things differently. And just now, reading this person reached out to me maybe about 12, 13 years ago on Facebook. And I immediately told him, go to hell, and blocked him and started freaking out and shaking. But you know what I was just thinking? Maybe he was trying to do an amends to me at that time. But I didn't even give it a chance. And that just dawned on me now. But I'm willing to look at that, because I did have a part. I mean, I had no business being with this man. I was very young. And but things like that, and looking at the disease, not the person. I couldn't imagine waking up and realizing I did something like that, So, but just, looking at things different and having that different perspective, it's just so huge. And I'm really grateful to be learning this and seeing these things now. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening, family. My name's Jamie. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic, and it's good to be with all of you. We're running a little long tonight. Trish and I were talking about we may have to start utilizing a timer, and I'd hate to do that. So it's important that we become aware of how long our shares are. Some of them have gone on 10 minutes or more, and we've let that happen because of the message. So, and if that offends anyone, I'm sorry. There's a lot of people out there that may not get to the opportunity to share if they would like to. So I'm just going to try and be short and to the point. I don't have to tell you my interactions with people over the years, or who they were, or any of that. What I do need to tell you is simply this, that these pages that we are in tonight simply give us the directions of how to go through the process of steps 8 and 9. That's very simple. And it's a simple process. I've listened to a lot of people talk about their sponsors, and when it came to step 8, and my sponsor told me I could make a list of those I would, those I might, and those that I will never. Really? That's bad sponsorship. There's no place in the book where it says that. So I'm going to go to page 59 and read step 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 8 is simply about willingness and making the list. And if we've done our 4th step properly, we made the list when we did our 4th step. Because it tells us on page, about page 57 or 58, that we list those who we had harmed, setting them aside altogether and only looking at ourselves. And it's repeated again in tonight's reading. And step 9, right out of the book, page 59, folks. You can't make this stuff up. It's already in print. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And if I go off on my high horse, or I'm trying to make myself feel better because I'm carrying so much guilt and shame, somewhere through steps 4 to this point, I have missed the idea of forgiveness in my heart. And I have to remember, especially that it says, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation. If I meet somebody on Facebook or I see them pop up on Facebook that I knew from 30 or 35 years ago, and I say, oh my God, I got to make an amends to that person. Yeah, I probably owe that person amends, but then I have to think about what the approach is like. Do they have a husband that I might harm them in making that amends because I'm bringing up old emotional baggage to that person? Do they have children that I might be getting involved in something that was my stuff to begin with? Sometimes the best amends that I can make to people is to leave them alone as well. I try to make direct amends wherever possible. And the book gives us a pathway to do this. It gives us a pathway through writing letters. There's all kinds of things that we can do. And there's 2 people that we should consult when we're making the list and making the amends. God, the supreme authority, and ask for guidance. And good sponsorship. Because there's a whole lot of bad sponsorship out there that will run you right off the rails and turn your life into a train wreck if they don't follow the book. And I have gone over my time, so I will bow out. Thank you. Aaron, would you like to come in and do the reading, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for everyone who shared, and great share, Jamie. From page 164, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit. and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. And let's close with a moment of silence for those who are still sick and suffering. And here at Primary Purpose, we have a very special way of closing out. We hold our hands up, since we cannot hold them together, and we close with the Lord's Prayer. And who took us from shame to grace, if we let him? Our Father,
Our Father,
who art in
who art
heaven,
in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
be thy name.
Thy
Thy kingdom come,
Come,
thy will be
thy
done,
will be done
on earth
on
as it is in
as it
heaven.
is in heaven.
Give us this day
This is day
our
our
daily
daily
bread,
bread,
and forgive us
and
our
forgive us our
trespasses,
trespasses,
as we forgive those who
forgive
trespass
those who
against us.
trespass against us.
And lead us
And
not
lead
into
us not
temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
deliver us from evil.
For thine is the
For
kingdom,
thine is the kingdom,
the power, and the glory,
and the glory,
forever and
forever
ever.
and ever.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
Thank you for
everyone.
staying up with us